episode number 190 with Doug Lyford. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And this week we have returning guest Doug Lyford, Dougie Fresh. He, longtime listeners will know the story of Doug. Doug and I met on TPE, started a study group, and we just kind of never quit. Doug put his successful job as an engineer on hold for a year. And he quit his job and he gave poker a shot. After that, he ended up going back to poker, but he still plays quite a bit. So I'm excited to have him on. This was your idea, Mikey, and I think it really stems around his work ethic around study habits.
Yeah, he's like Carlos in that respect. That's actually is much fun or more fun than playing poker.
Yeah.
Is studying and analyzing the game. And Dougie does the PO solver and all the sort of the higher end analysis, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. It's good for us to get some input from like him and Carlos every now and then, because we'll sit here and just hypothesize and they can plug it into their program and give us an answer.
We need answers about a lot of things, Steve.
Yes.
You'd think with a poker podcast, we should be more certain of our opinions at some times, but no. Well, at least half of intelligence is knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
Both of us are kind of pretty good with that, I think.
I think so. I was hoping to be recording this with you in a dingy Harrah's motel room, but unfortunately, I couldn't make it out this weekend. So.
Right.
Yeah, weather wasn't quite.
I've had to fart twice as much just to maintain the stink that I expected.
Good.
Yeah, no, the flight patterns were no good, correct? Or
it is the weather. There's a storm brewing down in south of here, and I've been watching the weather the last 3 days, and it's been changing every 12 hours for the last 72 hours, and I'm just like, it's not worth it.
Right, especially for one day.
Yeah. But it's all good. There'll be more. I'll probably be out there again in 2 weeks, so it's all good. How's the WSOP series going?
Yeah, I had just 2 events and 2 caches.
Nice. Okay.
Unfortunately, the last one I made the final table, and
in PLO.
No, I skipped the PLO one yesterday.
Okay.
More because I wanted to go out to dinner with a couple of guys than anything else. But 2 events, 31st and 8th.
Okay.
And the 8th one, unfortunately, would have been nice to win the thing. I got paid, I think, $2,700 in first place. Of course, was $30,000.
Yeah.
That's how these things work, Steve.
True.
Either be good enough to win these tournaments, or don't waste your time.
Yeah. Well, you're up so far then.
Yeah, I've had 3 straight cash sessions each night too, winning sessions.
Wow, nice.
This might be the best streak of my. I've had I think 11 straight winning sessions.
Okay,
which is pretty good. I mean, obviously remarkable. That just means I'm on the right side of variance.
True.
Vegas poker, man. It's nice. It's better just in the drop. There was the 2-5 the other night at Bellagio. 2 people, somebody limped, and they ended up just checking it down. And on the river, I want to say, there was $12 in the pot at the beginning, and on the river they gave the guy $11. Only $1 came out.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a rake. I mean, in Oceans we have a drop, so $6 comes out regardless, and another $1 comes out on the river.
Oh, wow.
So if you were a part of that pot that started with $12, you would have gotten $5 back, and here you got 11.
Yeah.
So a lot of pot, and there's a $5 max as opposed to a $7 max in the game I play.
Okay.
So I think we get a better rake back, and they don't have a jackpot and other things, but $5 max rake sounds pretty sweet to me.
Yeah, that is nice. That is nice. Right on. Well, what?
I haven't gambled, Steve. I'm proud of that.
Good for you.
I'm feeling no need at this point.
Good for you.
Just walking by it, and so
Good. Yeah, stick to that. What's the with the WSOP.com, is there a HUD you can use, or is this all headless?
You're supposed to not being use a HUD, and I'm following that rule. Not I actually couldn't download it onto my I'm on my Mac with no HUD, so yeah, okay. There's no. I actually tried to download the software on my PC, and I would have probably looked to see if the HUD worked, but I don't think I was going to work it anyways. Okay. I'm so paranoid about being caught with things, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a moral issue?
No, not really. Yeah. I'm capable. The only reason I don't rob banks is because I'd be the certainty of getting caught. So there seems less certainty here, but yeah, I'm a guy who follows the rules, not probably. I don't know if I'm ethical or not, but
okay.
Yeah, it's an advantage for the guys but I'm only one tabling the last couple nights.
Yeah, okay. So
and it when it got down to the end, and I was actually taking notes too.
Good.
So I was, I was taking it seriously. Yeah, I mean, nothing really too interesting. I mean, I ran like God to get to where I was getting. I had to get. I think I was like first. I had the chip lead for a while.
That's fun. When you're first almost the entire tournament.
Well, no, it wasn't like that, but I did have the chip lead, I think, with like 30 to go or something like that. So eighth feels a little disappointing. But for some, it's interesting that these tournaments are so fast. They're almost like turbos, you think, for 10-minute levels.
Oh, wow.
So you start with 10K in chips, but it moves fast, man. You're in the money within like 2.5 hours or something, or 2 hours. Yeah. I don't know how long it was. Near the end, basically, it gets very shallow. Yeah. So if I was the chip leader with 30 to go, I probably had 40 bigs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Okay. I just assumed that they would be, 20-minute levels or something, but yeah.
Maybe the main event on Sunday will be.
Okay.
I don't know what the deal will be. Okay. It's fine with me. It works better that way.
Just get it over with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pros in this. It's not like if it went like to longer levels, I have all of a sudden have a bigger edge.
Okay.
So have the tournament be quick, and then I can go play with some cash.
Yeah. Okay.
So it works okay for me. I'll have to. Yeah, Steve, it's kind of funny. I had a buddy who talked to me, but he's like, "You got to find something to do outside poker." And I was admiring my work ethic this month. I think I told you I've already probably played like 230 hours of poker this month or something.
Well done, sir.
But long term,
that's just not sustainable.
Yeah, but I need to. I don't have any crypto. Financially, this is pretty close to my low point. The reason you don't hear me being psychotically right now is that I've had one of my top 4 months in the past 4 years. And so it's been good, but to get back to where I want to be, I plan on busting my ass here this might be the new normal. This might be a little high, 200 hours a month should be enough, but yeah, you're going to see me work, Steve.
You could approach it like that, play 250 a month, but make sure you take at least a week off sometime next month. I think it's okay to like grind it out and really be like focused on work, but you do have to give yourself some breaks, or else you'll just go completely insane.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have my son next weekend, so gonna be that's a break for sure. Yeah. Well, this is a job, Steve. I'm trying to treat it like one.
Yeah.
And get back into trying to make some money here.
Get you all responsible and stuff. I like it.
I'm following the Steve plan. You say you always have to live on. Basically, I want my expense. I've done all the math of how many hours I play, what I'm going to make, and long term, I should be able to find a wage to live off and still put, even with and put $2,000 to $3,000 a month away.
Yeah.
So, hopefully build up some. I mean, it's still, I'm not going to own a house or anything unless somehow I get lucky and donk a big tournament, But anyways, there was a live tournament at the Win. I still kind of want to play that. I think I'm going to play the WSOP, although technically I can do both. I got my cell phone there,
Oh, at the same time, you mean?
Yeah, if I wanted to, because there's a live tournament to the Win, a $250K guarantee with a $600 buy-in.
Oh, those are good. I played those.
Today is day 1D or whatever, and tomorrow is day 2. So those I like quite a bit.
I think it'd be a mistake to play both of them at the same time.
Yeah, probably.
Which one do you want to play more?
I guess the online one.
Okay.
Like I said, the online one, I like the fact that it's quick here. I could play the other one for 8 hours and probably not get paid,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you probably have a bigger edge in the live one.
Yeah, for sure. But the tomorrow's tournament, I'm not going to miss the main event there because it's.
Oh, tomorrow's the main for the online.
Yeah, because that one is. I mean, it's only a $250K guarantee, but I'm pretty sure it'll be a lot more than that. In first place will be $100K plus, which is more than it'll be for the Win tournament. So
yeah, the Win will probably be 25 to 40, something like that.
What else is going on here, Stevie? I don't know. I was looking forward to you coming up here do a little for us to go out and try to talk to some women, but save myself that embarrassment.
Next weekend I've got the stocks class, so I've been watching videos on that in between playing poker, and I'm excited about that one. The weekend after that, I might be going down to Mexico. I might be going out to Vegas. Maybe I could come down to Oceanside, or you could come up here. What are you doing the weekend of October 12th?
Yeah, I don't know, Steve. Well, that'll be the week after I have my son for the weekend, so I'll probably be back in grinder mode.
Okay.
We'll figure it. I was kind of, it's not a major. I actually already am a pickup artist, Steve, picking up disappointment, humiliation.
Picking up rejection.
I just want something new, something different,
That's great. That's great. I listened to the pickup episode from last week, and I'm afraid we might not have been as PC as we could have been.
Oh, really? I can't remember what I said about women, or what did we say?
Well, no, I'm just thinking just in general, our general kind of air about the show. So I came up with a list of a couple of politically correct compliments and praises that you could give depending on your audience, So one I was thinking of is if you're in a bar and you find out that a guy is he's Indian, American Indian, not from India. You could say something like, if I'm ever lost in the woods, I hope it is you that they send to find me and take me home.
I'm confused, Steve. I'm assuming this is irony we're dealing with here.
Yeah, that's kind of the.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Another one could be to my Asian cousins. May your sight be so good that not even a windshield can blind you.
Steve, I really don't need any more of this.
I got one more.
Oh, you work so hard on this. Oh dear. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Okay, to my fellow round-eye white brothers, your Johnson is so big, you must warn all of us by driving around in a big lifted truck with rubber testicles hanging from the trailer hitch. That might only apply to California, huh?
Yeah, I don't know, Steve.
I don't know if our friends across the pond.
We're not on the same level here right now.
No.
Occasionally that happens. The only thing I was thinking about last week's episode, I haven't listened to, I don't remember, is that we kind of we do this. We just kind of say, let's get on and bullshit. And, we didn't prepare for it, Steve. I need a more to go into your the deeper methodology that the Barton uses here, rather than just kind of randomly asking questions and saying, hey, teach me something.
We'll have to come up.
But I didn't pick up on the politically incorrect part. I'm always a gentleman, Steve. I mean, that's like the hallmark of my character, I thought. So I don't, if I was offending someone, I cannot remember what it was, but
that was my segue. I wouldn't take it personally.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think Doug is ready. Should we bring him on?
Please, God, do.
Yes, it's about time. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and then Doug Lyford. Tired of bageling tournament after tournament? Start winning tournaments. Join me at Tournament Poker Edge and start playing like a professional. Watch the videos, post tough hands in the forum, and get a response from Andrew Brokus. It's free coaching from a pro who's been making a living playing poker for over a decade. Train your brain to make the right decisions automatically and start winning money. Tournament poker is one of the fastest evolving games there is. It's always changing. Bet sizing, donk betting, ace and king blockers, you have to stay on top of it if you want to win, and TPE is the answer. When you join, get the discount with the code HUP month, HUP quarter, or HUP year. Study and learn with me and other people that are just like you and me. TournamentPokerEdge.com. Doug Lyford, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Right on. How you been, man?
Good. Busy, but very good.
Good.
What are you up to these days, Doug? You're always switching around. Pardon me. You're you're a businessman, then you're a poker pro, then you're back to something else. I assume you're pimping on the streets of Portland now. What do you consider your job at this point?
So my job now is for sure software engineering. Working full time at a software company and playing and studying poker whenever I can.
How many hours a week would you say you're playing and studying?
So I've kind of scaled back my play fairly recently. I'm trying to focus more on studying now and mostly just playing on the weekends. So I'm trying to study 10 hours a week and then just play as much as I can, like Friday through Sunday.
Well, that sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah. It's still a fair amount. Like I'm still getting in some decent volume, I would say.
Uh-huh. Well, that's one of the reasons we wanted you back on. Longtime listeners know your story about how you quit your engineering job and played cards for full time for a year, went back to your job, and then now it sounds like it's occupying probably at least a third of your working hours.
You mean poker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. Yeah. After I went back into the working world after playing poker, I eventually went back to school, actually. Studied software engineering at a coding boot camp, and then I got a job here in Maine after finishing that, and that's where I am now.
Cool. So what are your, kind of run through what those 10 hours are like during the week that you're studying? Like what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So
finish,
like about that.
Warming up, software you use, all that.
Sure. So I think in the past I've been a pretty inefficient at studying, as I think a lot of poker players are, especially tournament players. Something I've consistently been trying to get better at and work on. And now I think I'm in a place where I'm actually quite efficient with my time I spend studying. So there's kind of a few different levels we can talk about this from. There's kind of a high level discussion of just how to approach studying. And I think that's probably a good place to start. So in general, what I try to do is at the end of a week, I try to plan specifically like what areas of the game I want to work on for the next week. So for example, this week, my 3 areas of focus were raise first in ranges, versus raise first in ranges, pre-flop, and then big blind defense.
Okay.
So I played like Sunday, and I think I played Thursday last week. And then I mark hands while I'm playing if there's any hands I think I had trouble with. And then I review those marked hands, and then I also just filter my database. So I use Poker Tracker 4 for that. So I'll filter my database for like spots where I was in the big blind. And then I just go through and replay those hands. And I tend to not get through a lot of hands very quickly. Like if I spend 2 hours studying big blind defense, I might get through 10 hands, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe 6 or 7. And I just go really in depth in each spot. I think it's way more important to go in depth rather than to get through a lot of hands. Because you can kind of blast through hands and just look at, like, if we look at like the simplest form of studying, we could look at a hand history where I was in the big blind. Let's say cutoff opens and I have like 7-8 offsuit or something. And I could just say, yeah, 7-8 offsuit is a defend here, and then move on, right?
Yeah.
But instead, what you could do is you could say, okay, cutoff opens, we're 30 big blinds effective, there's a 10% ante. What's my entire range that I defend here, and what hands should I 3-bet rather than flatting? And then you can construct a range. You can use software to check your assumptions. What I like to do is kind of guess a range first. So I'll just like build a range in some sort of a software. It doesn't really matter what you use. And then I will use whatever software I think is best for that situation to either run a sim or just like run an equity calculation and see if my range is correct, and then make notes about how I should be adjusting. So to give an example from this past week when I've been looking at big blind defends, there's a few spots where I'm defending too much, and there's a few spots where I'm not defending enough. So I come up with the range, I run the sim, and then I adjust and say, okay, I need to defend more of these, more of the King X offsuits, or I need to fold more because the villain 2.5x here, things like that.
Yeah. What software are you using?
So I use a couple different things. For big blind defending specifically, I really like to use Power Equilab. It's a really good tool, and the reason I like that is because it has equity realization built into it. So you can take a range and you can assign percentages to every hand in that range as far as how much of their equity they're going to realize post flop.
Yeah.
So like a hand like Ace 4 offsuit might have like 35% equity or something against the opponent's range, but that's a hand that it's really hard to realize equity with because you're dominated a lot, and it doesn't have much connectivity. You can't really flop flush draws. You can't make straights with that hand. Like I say, Ace 4, you can make the wheel straight, but 7-8, it's easier to make a straight with. So a hand like Ace 4 might only realize, I don't know, like 60-70% of its equity, where a hand like 7-8 or like 8-5 offsuit or something, or 8-5 suited rather, is going to realize more of its equity because it's easier to flop equity and be able to continue to later streets. So the ability to set percentages for each hand combo is pretty important for coming up with defense ranges.
Yeah, the one I have downloaded doesn't do that, and it is nice when you can click on it and go, 50% sounds right, or he could be opening Jack 9 suited here, but probably only a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you use other than Power Equilab?
So I have PO Solver. To be honest, I haven't been using that a whole lot, but it's a very good tool, and I plan to use it more. I've been really pretty focused on pre-flop stuff lately, so HRC, Hold'em Resources Calculator, is what I've mostly been using. That will allow you to calculate like push-fold ranges and rejamming ranges and things like that. It's better for shorter stack situations like 20 BBs and under. But it still can be used up to like 30-40 BBs to look at some spots and get some ideas.
Okay.
But the one problem with that tool is that it does not factor in equity realization. It just takes the raw equity of the two ranges and basically treats it like once you get to the flop, you're just going to check it down to showdown, and that's how it calculates your equity.
Yeah, if we can take a step back, Doug, just to know where you're at with poker now. Me and Doug went to lunch a few months ago, you were kind of switching over to cash game guy. Are you back towards tournaments?
Yeah. So
we're talking about here.
Yeah. So the cash game thing was kind of a roller coaster ride. I got backed to play on some of these Chinese apps that are out there, and it started out pretty well. I was winning right away at the lower stakes in these ante games. I moved up, went on a downswing, moved back down, made it back, cashed out 3 or 4 times. But then after that, I kind of was going on a downswing again. And then at the same time, 2 of the clubs that I was in on these apps scammed us. So they just took all the money that we had in the clubs, and they just did an exit scam and just disappeared. And then my backer decided he didn't want to back me anymore, but he did offer to let me keep playing on the accounts with my own money. So I still have those accounts. I may play on those from time to time, but right now I'm mostly focusing on tournaments on Bovada and also a little bit of cash on Bovada as well.
Yeah, I think those Chinese sites, I mean, all you need to know is that guys were putting teams together to go and play on them, and you knew they were going to be, money was going to dry up pretty quick, probably.
Yeah, I
you're
think
gonna have less. You're gonna have less dead money because, there's other people doing the same thing this guy was doing, putting pros out there to grind, and there's just anytime there's a sweet spot in poker, man, it doesn't last long.
Yeah, I agree, and I think at this point, I think there's still definitely money to be made on these types of sites, but at the same time, like you said, there's a lot of stables who have gotten involved in these sites, and there's a lot of logistical issues about getting money on these sites, and there's a lot of opportunities to get scammed by clubs, and there are collusion issues. There's all kinds of things going on. So there are problems with these options, and I just kind of decided for now I would rather not deal with that stuff and just stick with Bovada.
Yeah, I feel safe on there at America's Card Room, but when you start dinking around with these little ones, it's so tempting because they're extremely soft,
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, 6-4 spades, a perfect example there. You just never know.
Yeah, it's kind of an EV calc of like you have X% chance of like getting scammed or getting included against, but is it worth it because of how soft the games are?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a poker player, we just don't have a lot of goddamn options.
True. Yeah. Especially being Americans. Yeah.
If you want to play, you get in Southern California, I can play cash in a zillion places, but, Steve, by the way, Doug, maybe you could talk to him and get some questions together. We're going to, Steve, right? Are we still going to have the head of the Poker Players Association sometime coming up?
So we're going to have on Rich Muni. Any questions you have on legality? He was part of the Poker Players Association.
Yeah, I was just thinking, just jumping ahead, we're talking about the bullshit that poker players have to deal with. And obviously, I immediately thought of, when can we get goddamn online poker here?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm curious of how is it that Bovada has been around for over a decade, and there's these little fly by the seat of your pants ones that are here and gone, and what what the hell? You know what I mean?
Well, the issue is, why has Donald Trump not paid taxes in 12 years, and I can't play online poker? That's the larger issue.
Yeah, and you can bet on sports and all these other things, but you can't play poker.
Pot's legal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we can't play cards.
I mean, my question would just be, what are his thoughts on the outlook on the next 3 years, 5 years,
Sure.
Whatever. I think when I look at where poker is at right now, I feel pretty optimistic about it as far as like the content that's out there. I mean, you have all these streamers now that are getting the word out. There's tens of thousands of people watching Lex Feldhaus play a 5K on the weekend. They're getting pretty big audiences. People seem interested in poker. I think if it did become legal, it would be great. I think there would be a huge demand.
Right.
I'm hoping that happens.
Of course, there's a lot of poker knowledge out there too, increasingly, because people are watching Lex. Or maybe some of these pros, like Doug Polk, if you watch, he just bullshits. He doesn't really offer too much poker knowledge that's useful. I don't think. I don't know about Veldhouse.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the streams. I don't really watch them too much. The only one I really watch is Charlie Carroll. I watch some of his replays because I think he does sometimes offer some pretty good strategy pieces that you can take away.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was, doing some studying with Carlos, and like those guys, I wanted to find like someone who's crushing ACR, who's an American player.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's beating my stakes. But yeah, it's definitely a resource.
Yeah, for sure.
How are the game? Are there any live cash games in Maine? Are you doing that at all, or is that just that you had to travel for quite a bit, didn't you? Didn't you have to drive over an hour for a home game?
Yeah, so I occasionally will play live cash, either at the casino here in Maine or sometimes trips to Foxwoods or private home game type things around here. The action at the casino in Maine is actually pretty great. The rake is a little bit high, but the games are very good. But the problem is I have to drive over an hour and a half each way to get there, and sometimes I have to sit there and wait for an hour or two for a seat when I get there. And there's just a lot of issues. It's hard to justify playing one table and sitting and waiting for it when I could just hop online and like I'd rather hop online and play 4 tables of 100 NL on Bovada than go play like 1-3 or maybe even 2-5 at the casino, just because of the headache of driving there and everything.
Yeah, you got a 3-hour turnaround time, and that could be an extra 1,000 hands that you get to see or something,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am, having said that, I am going to Foxwoods in a couple weeks to play some small tournaments. But yeah, live play is pretty few and far between for me these days.
Yeah, me too. I like live more. Well, I like live tournaments more.
Yeah, they're fun. I like them.
Convenience of online is just too easy. You can really get in some volume.
Since we only have Doug for 30 minutes, Steve, I actually have a hand I want to ask him about.
Oh, perfect. All right.
I got a hand from
strategy section.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. If we can always go back, Steve, if you think of something.
Okay. What you got, Mikey?
Yeah, I don't know how interesting a hand is. It's a shove fold kind of decision, but this was pretty. I'm in Vegas, Doug. I came out here for the World Series of Poker, their first online series. I don't know if you knew that was going on.
I heard a little bit about it. I don't know much about like what events there were or anything.
So I have 2 events, 2 caches. Throw a brag out there, but this was from Thursday. And it was like a $300 buy-in, whatever, $40K guarantee. But of course, they killed it. And first place was $30,000.
Okay.
And we're getting pretty late. And I was telling Steve they're 10-minute levels, so the thing ran pretty shallow. So I start this hand with about 26 bigs, which is probably well above average. I don't know about well above average. The blinds are 5,000, 10,000. I'm in the small blind with pocket 9s.
Okay.
And the under the gun guy has 89,000, just under 9 bigs, and he shoves.
Okay.
And the button, who has 233K or a little over 23 bigs, he reshoves.
Okay.
I guess this is maybe how you would just go about using an equity calculator here. I mean, I know how it, but so I guess my question: if you add both all the math together, I've done it from what I've looked at. I need 39% equity.
Okay.
But I was thinking almost individual. Do I look at just am I ahead of the reshove the buttons range? Is that maybe how you would look at this? I mean, you're ahead of. I'm ahead of both their ranges individually, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I only have 39% equity in the hand.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? The question, I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's hard to just say like look at your equity against button or look at your equity against under the gun. I think you have to look at the whole picture, and it's hard to really do that accurately without software, in my opinion. The way I would look at this in terms of reviewing it after the fact, I would just plug in all the stacks and the actions in the HRC, run the sim, and then the initial result would be like sort of a Nash equilibrium GTO kind of a result. So I would get that, and then I would adjust the ranges any way I see fit. So like if you have stats on button, if they're, if you think they're tighter than they should be, or if they're looser than they should be, I would adjust the ranges a little bit, and come up with what I think I should be calling off with. As far as like just the spot in general, without running a sim or without knowing anything about the players, I think it's really close. I think if I had 10s, I would probably like call and not really think too much about it. 9s is very close, and I think it could go either way. And at equilibrium, it might be a call. I'm not really sure, but it's very, very close, I think.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was just talking like from a philosophical standpoint. Do I think to myself, am I ahead of the button? And because sometimes, I could lose to the under the gun guy, but still win a little of that hand, So
yeah, it's definitely more important to think about the button here. Like that's the most important part of this. You don't really.
But if you were punching it in equity cut, you would look at your overall equity against both ranges and not just try to range the button.
Yeah, in game, I would agree. I think I would mostly just be trying to range button.
Okay.
We know we're way ahead of under the gun, or at least we should be way ahead. So we don't really care too much about his range. We really just need to figure out what button's range is. But yeah, just after the fact, if I was analyzing it, I would just look at the equity we have against both players. But yeah, figuring out what the button's likely to be doing is what I would be looking at in game.
Right.
Okay.
How much, again, I'm just trying to get the basic philosophical stuff. I heard in cash games, I don't know if this is if a UTG 1 opens, if you're behind them, you should be playing a UTG range.
Yeah, I think that's
that
reasonable.
That makes sense. So you're on a slightly stronger. I don't know what I'm getting at. This was a big pot. Obviously, I folded and would have flopped quad 9s and taken a big chip.
Of course.
So, and it is kind of funny when you go through what normally you would think that guy would have there. And I think he had a lot of chips and lost some. I don't know if we need to factor that in. I didn't save the hand or save the hand history, but he had king queen off the button.
Okay.
So. I originally when I ranged him and put it all in the cut, I did the equity calculator like what I would think he would have. So I had him as 7s plus, ace jack suited, ace queen off, and king queen suited. And but if he's doing king queen off, maybe he's got king 10 suited in every pair and all that. Then it becomes a call. But there was really no way of knowing. But
that seems pretty loose. I don't like a shove there with king queen. Do you guys?
King queen off, you said?
Yeah, no. If he's depending on what range he's put the under, he's behind the under the guns range even probably.
Yeah. That's what I was.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it. When I had a question I wanted to ask about the situation. I think it somewhat matters. One is what is the big blind stack size, and the other thing is there any pay jumps coming up? Were we in the money, and are we like really close to a significant pay jump, or is it just like a chip EV decision?
No, we're in the money, and the pay jumps I wasn't really. I don't even really think of ICM until I don't know. You get down to the final. I will if I'm using the shove fold. I use the float the turn app. And you can adjust 10% tighter, 20% tighter. I don't think I was even using it at this point because I was, but that's something I will do. But I guess it's late. It's stack preservation mode. I don't know if that's the same as ICM because you're passing on thin spots. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if this was earlier in the tournament, I certainly call and just try to, I'm trying to chip up. But
a couple other notes about kind of just how I generally would think about this in game. The spot, it's like if you had 10s at this stack size, like I said, or me personally, if I had 10s, I'd probably go with the jam. And also if the stacks were like 4 BBs less, so if you had like 22 and you have 9s, I would go with I would call off. With the extra 4 BBs and having 9s, like I said, it's really close. And I do think it matters how soft the tournament is in this situation, and if it's a close spot. Like if you think you have a huge edge in this tournament and it seems like it's pretty soft and your table's making mistakes, I would be more likely to fold, just because it is close, and we're risking our tournament life with the call. Those other factors matter in that situation.
Yeah. I thought I had a little bit of an edge just because it was shallow, and I was still stealing off of 20-25 big blinds, three betting and that kind of thing. Maybe I was going to be stealing some chips other people weren't, but it's kind of hard to say there, I think.
I definitely would have called tens in that spot or reshipped, I guess. But nines, that's close. Eights is an easy fold, I believe. But I think you're right there. It's I was watching a video last night on TPE with Alex Fitzgerald, and he's like, "Oh, in this spot, I don't really know what to do." He's like, "I hope I fold because I don't know what to do." And he reiterated that about 3 or 4 times. When you don't know what to do, the move is usually folding.
Yeah, I agree, and especially again in a spot where you're risking your tournament life and you're not really sure, go with the safer alternative and make the fold. Yeah.
How much versus button? What sort of equity advantage do you think, just like off the top of your mind? Like, let's just say like there was some app where that gave you his entire range, like that, and you had 55% equity. Is that a call?
Well, I mean, in these types of spots, I tend to think in terms of how many big blinds are edges, since we're getting it all in pre-flop. So again, it somewhat depends on how soft you think it is, and like if you have 2 guys on your left that you're just stealing, like you can just steal button with 100% against, then that means you need to have a bigger edge to take this spot. But in general, like if it's a tough tournament and I don't really see any spots where I'm getting a lot of equity in other situations at the table, I think I want to have something around like 0.5 BBs, 0.6 BBs at least edge.
Okay.
And again, if the table's really soft and I'm just able to run over when I'm in late position with really exploitative steals or something, then that number would go up. But yeah,
I think spots like these, you're trying to plug the overall leaks in your games, and this is, like we said, this is kind of a close spot. I think we agreed if I call with pocket sixes, that's much too light, and if I were to fold pocket jacks, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, absolutely.
So pocket nines is kind of, but yeah, just trying to think of the overall approach there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In game, I was thinking about just the big blind range pretty much. I was wondering if that was like a decent way to.
Yeah. You mean the button range, right?
Yeah. The big blind range. I mean, the button range. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would be doing as well, for sure. Yeah. We already know that we can clearly get it in against UTG. So we really just have to worry about button.
Yeah, the bigger stick. I've got one that's kind of similar. Unless you
that's useful, Steve.
Apparently, my segue this episode just sucks. Unless you got any closing thoughts on that one, Mikey, I got one that's pretty similar.
No, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, this one, we're on the button. We have tens. It's a 6-handed tournament. We have 5 players at the table. Still pretty early. Blind levels are 50, 100. It folds to the cutoff, who min raises to 200. So the blinds at 50, 100. He min raises to 200. We're on the button with tens. He has 48 big blinds. We've got 77. Small blind has about 100. Big blind has 43.
Okay.
We're 3-betting here, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch. I caught the cutoff min raised, and then you said the other stack sizes, but I didn't catch your position. And did you say you had tens?
Okay, yeah, we got tens, and we're on the button. So the cutoff raises. We've got tens. We have 77 big blinds. Small blind has 100 big blinds, and big blind has 43 big blinds.
Okay, gotcha.
I know in cash games, I've been 3-betting tens a lot less. I don't know. I mean, everything does depend on especially now that I play in like 100 big blind game rather than a 300 big blind game. But that's, yeah, I don't know. That's not germane to this conversation. But
yeah, I think with tens here, you could flat or 3-bet. I don't think flatting is really a mistake, but I personally would probably lean towards the 3-bet just to play the pot heads up in position.
Yep.
If you flat, like, then the blinds are allowed to flat with a pretty wide range, just because of pot odds. So I would rather get heads up, get the pot heads up and play in position with a hand that's ahead of cutoff's range, rather than playing four-handed.
Okay.
So I think I would lean towards 3-betting. Yeah.
Makes sense. If you're in the small blind, see if you're in the small blind, you lean towards flatting, maybe.
No, small blind, I'd be even more likely to 3-bet actually.
Okay.
Because we're out of position then, and again, so like you're saying, if button folded and we were in the small blind with tens.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that situation, I would even be even more likely to 3-bet because we're out of position, and I want to have the SPR be lower because if the SPR is higher, then the in position player gets to just realize more of an edge being in position.
Okay.
And also, again, I don't want to flat and then big blind can just flat with like 80% of hands. So I don't want to play out of position to two players with a lower SPR, which is what's going to happen most of the time if we just flat. So yeah, I would just always 3-bet if I was in the small blind with tens.
So low, basically higher SPR, you're going to get more you're going to get more floating, and that, from the guy in position.
Yeah.
Is that so? Yeah, he can put more pressure on you.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right. So 3-betting. What's your guys' sizing here on the button? He made it 200 blinds or 50, 100. We got tens.
I would go about 600. I would just go around about 3x at these stack sizes.
Okay.
Yep.
Ditto. All right. I make it 627. The small blind folds, big blind folds, and it goes back around to the cutoff. Total pot is 977, and he makes it 1722.
Okay. So at this point, I would be very, very interested in any stats you have on him or anything you know about the cutoff, if you know anything.
Okay. 6 hands. He's played 2 of them. They were both for raises. That's it.
Okay, so pretty much nothing.
Yeah, basically, yes.
I don't know if you said this yet, but did you say what the buy-in of this was or what site it was on?
Yeah, it's $44 on Bovada, 6-handed super stack.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, okay.
If you use Carlos's rule, there's no such thing as a 4-bet bluff in Bovada.
Yeah, I would just fold, especially. So he made it 17-22, and he started the hand with how much did he start it with?
4,800.
Oh, so this is like most of his stack then.
Yeah, there's 24 in the middle, or there's 25 in the middle now. He's got 3K behind. So
okay, yeah, I would just easy fold, I think.
Mike.
Yeah, I play an ACR, so it's not an easy fold.
Okay.
Everybody has 4-bet bluffing ranges, but and well, of course, I've got thousands of hands on people, and there's always like dynamics of. But in this spot, I don't know if I'd be able to fold because you're at the tippy top of your range. But yeah, I think like if I would just try to have that would be one if I had a computer there with all my little sticky notes, that would probably be one that I would have right on top there prominently. They don't 4-bet bluff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this, well, a couple things. If cutoff had jammed instead of 4-betting to the smaller size, I'd be more likely to call.
Me too.
Because I think that puts a lot more ace king, ace queen in his range that we're slightly ahead of with dead money in the pot. So I would just call in that situation. But when someone 4-bets the smaller size with this small of a stack, I think that it's way more likely to be a stronger range. And the other thing is if you did flat the 4-bet, then the pot is going to be around like 3,600-ish on the flop. And then his remaining stack, or the remaining effective stack, is like, what is it? It's less than a 1-to-1 SPR, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like 80% of the pot or something.
Yeah, so I think you pretty much just have to shove or fold here. Those are your only two options, I think.
I agree. Okay.
Because I think if you did just call, then now he's just always going to shove every flop because he's first to act.
Right.
Yeah.
So
depending on the villain, he might be checking like the ace high flops so you can steal those because he gives up on jacks and kings, but probably not even.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say always. There's some situations where that won't happen, but in general, like this is basically a shove or fold decision at this point, I think.
Okay. I feel like his cutoff range here when he four bets at this point is 85 or 90% of the time he has tens plus here, and then the other 5% is like ace king suited, and the other 10% is some random 7-8 of diamonds or something. You know what I mean? But the vast majority of the time here, I think we're crushed.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Yeah, I would want to have a read on the opponent. Like if we had like 40 hands on him or more, and he's being really crazy, then we can think about just jamming it here. But versus an unknown on Bovada, I'm just making the fold. And the fact that it's a 6 max does make it a bit closer, I think, because I just think people tend to play more aggressively in those.
That's true.
If this was a 9-handed tournament, I wouldn't even think about it versus an unknown. I would just fold. In the 6 max, I might think about it for 10 seconds and then fold.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I would end up folding.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I took a minute and then I kind of ran through what we talked about, and then I end up clicking the fold button. So I don't know.
Cool.
I guess that was correct. Probably correct more often than it's not.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're playing an unknown player on an anonymous site, so you kind of just have to play against the pool.
Yeah.
And against the pool, I think you're not making much of a mistake by folding.
Okay. All right. I guess we got to wait for
And people do like to shove their ace king, ace queens in those spots for sure.
Yeah, I don't think,
like you said.
Yeah, I think, like I said, if he had shoved, I think our equity is just way better, and I would just make the call. I mean, you're still gonna run into like aces and kings sometimes, but overall we have better equity versus a shove. So I would much more strongly consider the call off in that situation.
Yeah, I think with aces, kings, maybe queens, he's making that raise size almost every time. And with hands, like you said, if he's shoving, I think we can probably take 3/4 or I guess it'd be 2/3 of his aces and king combos out of there. Maybe he's only doing it, a third of the time.
Yeah, with the smaller sizing, like if I was gonna try to run this in HRC or something and enter his range, with the smaller sizing, I would probably do something like give him like 30 to 50% of like the ace kings and ace queen suited, and then like 80%, 90% of the aces and kings, and then I would reverse those versus the jam sizing.
Yeah, I feel like that's correct. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, Dougie, where are you going to be at poker in a couple of years here? What's the plan, man? All I have to do is win $1,000 pot or win a $300 tournament, and I'm just like,
I mean,
I'm already fantasizing about playing the super high rollers in 2 years. Like that's the direction. Well, so are you? If you have a good year here, do you have some goals where if I do this, then I get to go to Vegas or?
Well, let's put it this way. I just booked an impromptu trip to Foxwoods just because I saw that there was a $250 tournament there that they were adding a $30K PokerStars Players Championship package for first.
Nice.
So the dream is alive and well, and if I banked 100K somehow, I would be going full time immediately.
Okay.
I'm working. I'm working hard on studying and trying to build the bankroll back up again, and I could see myself going for it again if I'm in the right situation financially.
Are you still with the same lady, or?
Yep, I am. She's downstairs making noise.
I mean, frankly, she could.
Podcasting. I love it.
I mean, there are people who work 80, 90 hours a week here. Some people just to survive. You could just lay down the law, Doug, and say, listen, I'm a full-time poker player, and you're going to have 2, maybe 3 jobs just to carry.
Just throw the ultimatum out. Those were
that'll be a good test of love, Steve.
It's interesting that you say that because the job that I have right now, a lot of my coworkers I see working super late, putting in long hours, and I don't do that, and I don't want to do that because I want to go home and study poker and play poker. So I put in my 40, 45 hours a week, and I like to think I'm pretty efficient while I'm there, and I get my work done. But I've worked late maybe like one night in the year that I've been there, and no one said anything yet, but it's just kind of interesting seeing how many people are putting in like 60, 70-hour weeks. And I'm
right. I'm sure they're catching on to the fact, Doug, you're one of those do the bare minimum kind of guys, but but you're so smart. Maybe you're even when you're half-assing it, you're providing more than a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like to think when I'm there, I apply myself, and I like to think I work pretty hard. But so far, I've been able to either fool them or get enough done that I don't have to put in loads of hours. So hopefully that can continue.
Yeah.
Steve has a trick where he actually just finds a bunch of like fire hoses and like hides underneath them for a few hours while he's taking a nap.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
And, yeah, nobody even knows where he is.
So Steve's lucky he's a fairly lean guy, then he can hide behind a fire hose.
You don't even have to. The funny thing is, if you're a fireman, you don't even have to come up with excuses to do nothing. they spend so much time sitting around there watching porn or whatever it is. I don't know.
That's kind of part of the job description.
When he does have to leap into action, though, it is some serious business. I'll grant him that, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
In between the time, though, we're playing badminton and Xbox. Pretty
much, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Doesn't sound like a bad gig.
Has its moments.
I don't know. It is funny, though, just the mind of the poker players. Like Doug here, sounds like such a reasonable guy. Of course, you're young. Quitting your job isn't the end, but you're like, if I win this tournament, I'm quitting immediately. It's not even.
I don't know if I can use the being young excuse anymore. I'm 30 now.
Okay.
I used that last time. I feel like I used my one time with that. I don't know.
Right. In terms of are you worried about what your resume looks like? I mean, do you want to have like a place where you've had a job for 2 or 3 years, don't you? If not, you look kind of drifterish.
Yeah, a little bit of me worries about that. I have had people comment on that and in jobs I've applied for. But for the most part, I'm really not worried about it. Especially with software engineering, I think there's a lot of ways to use that skill set to make money.
Right.
I've freelanced in the past. I could see myself doing that part-time at some point. Maybe in the future I'll be playing poker half the time and working 20 hours a week as a freelancer or something. I just think there's a lot of different avenues to working in software, and I think even if I did have like a gap on my resume, I could probably show someone that I'm worth hiring in the future. So I'm not too worried about it.
You're basically a commodity in this market. You know your shit. So it's like, yeah.
Well, I think it's like a mixture of like knowing some stuff and then like presenting myself well, or I guess you could call it bullshitting, but.
Where would it be? Let's just, you got to prepare for the worst here is my mentality, of course. Was there any, when was the last sort of summerish job? I mean, have you ever waited tables or anything? If it ever came to that where you had to like, rather than working a full-time job as an engineer, I guess what I'm saying, why not kind of full-time poker, but some little job on the side that brings you whatever.
And I think
$600 or $800 a month.
Yeah, and I think I could do that with software.
Okay, makes sense.
I have side projects right now actually in software. I've built a sort of like a crowdfunding website for my neighbor who's an inventor, and he invented a new gaming controller for computer games. And there's just little things like that just come up once in a while that I've done. And I haven't really tried to market myself that hard. I haven't really like searched hard for side gigs, but whenever I've tried to do them, I've been able to find some stuff. So I think that in the future, it wouldn't be that difficult to, put in 10, 20 hours a week doing that kind of thing.
Okay.
Cool.
We need legal poker here.
Yes,
yeah, sure. do you have you can do the you get enough volume on Bovada, you think, where you could I mean, living in Maine, it's not like you need $200,000 a year to survive.
Well, the biggest thing, at least for me personally, is the living expenses, which in Maine they're low, but right now I'm working on paying off quite a bit of debt from just quitting my job and going back to school, and living on a credit card for 16 weeks while I was in school. So yeah, once that stuff is taken care of, I don't think I need a huge amount to live pretty comfortably. And I think the question you were getting at was, do you think Bovada alone is enough to make a living off of? I kind of think that the best way to do that would be to be playing both cash and tournaments. And I think if that's something you can do and have good win rates in both, then you could make a very solid living just on Bovada, I think.
Which levels can you beat the? I don't know what kind of Zoom games are on there. Like, is 1-2 a game you beat pretty profitably there, or is that's probably a fair amount of pros in that game, obviously.
No, not really. I think I'm pretty much like, if I looked at every hand I've played in Zoom, I don't have all the hand histories, but I think I'm pretty close to break even over like 100K hands.
Oh wow!
I think I crushed 100 NL pretty well. The non-Zoom games. They kind of changed Zoom recently on Bovada. There used to be 100 NL Zoom, but now it used to be like 50, 100, and 200, and now it's 50, 200, and 500. So they got rid of the 100 NL Zoom, and the 500 doesn't really run. But even if it did, I'd probably just get absolutely crushed. But yeah, like right now, I'm pretty confident that I beat 100 NL and under. And pretty much any tournament on Bovada for a pretty good win rate. And hopefully if I keep studying and working, I'll be able to maybe move up to 200. And I think a mix, if you're doing well in 200 now plus tournaments on Bovada, I think you can make a decent amount of money.
Yeah. Right on. Cool. Well, I can hear the gardener starting up in around here. It's about to get very loud. I think we should wrap it up. And thank you for coming on, Doug. This has been cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was good talking with you guys. Gonna have to catch up on some of the backlog. I haven't listened to the podcast in a little while, but gonna have to go in and catch up on some of the
I'm still confused, sorry, Steve, why you call your electrical dildo the gardener. It's just a strange name for it. I don't know.
That was our code, Mikey. And
okay. Gotcha.
Is it green or something? Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, Steve, why can't I just let us end this gracefully? I don't know. I got a bad personality. What can I tell you?
You got to get in that last jab.
Yes. He's always going to do it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, boys. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
What you see impacts how you feel, and the way you feel can literally change what you see. What you see is a complex mental construction of your own making, but you experience it passively as a direct representation of the world around you. Hold yourself accountable for every moment, every thought, every detail. See beyond your fears. Recognize your assumptions, harness your internal strength, silence your internal critic, correct your misconceptions about luck and about success, accept your strengths and your weaknesses and understand the difference. Open your hearts to your bountiful blessings. Your fears, your critics, your heroes, your villains, they are your excuses, rationalizations, shortcuts, justifications, your surrender. They are fictions you perceive as reality. Choose to see through them. Choose to let them go. You are the creator of your reality.
No matter how many people are against you, or the haters who said you can't do it, you can't become it, you can't have it, no matter what your ex-husband said about you, if you take these three soldiers with you, intellect, instinct, and inspiration, you will always achieve your dream.
We're the authors of our stories and can change the way we're telling them. Your life isn't just a list of events. You can edit, interpret, and retell your story even as you're constrained by the facts.